And Black Widow star Scarlett Johansson is now suing Disney over the release of the hit Avengers spinoff on Disney+. She says releasing the film on the streaming service was a breach of her contract, allegedly saving Disney and Marvel from paying her what the company would have owed her from a sole box office release. TJ Holmes has more.
Avengers star Scarlett Johansson gearing up for another battle, this one in a courtroom.
We have unfinished business.
The actress has sued the Walt Disney Company over the way the company chose to release her latest film, Black Widow, alleging a breach of contract.
With the pandemic, everything has changed. So Black Widow was released simultaneously in theaters and on Disney+.
The lawsuit filed Thursday says, with the bulk of Ms. Johansson's compensation being tied to box office receipts, Disney knew that the cannibalization of such receipts by Disney Plus would save Marvel, and by extension Disney, very large amounts of money that it would otherwise owe Ms. Johansson, adding her team's attempts to reach an understanding were ignored.
You don't know everything about me.
The film broke pandemic-era records and has brought in over $300 million worldwide, millions more from streaming on Disney+. But the Wall Street Journal reports the actress may have lost out on more than $50 million in revenue that could have been generated by the movie's success. In a statement to ABC News, Johansson's attorney writes, "It's no secret that Disney is releasing films like Black Widow directly onto Disney+ to increase subscribers and thereby boost the company's stock price, and that it's hiding behind COVID-19 as a pretext to do so." Disney fired back, saying there is no merit whatsoever to this filing. The lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Disney has fully complied with Ms. Johansson's contract, and furthermore, the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with Premier Access has significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of the $20 million she has received to date.
This is probably the tip of the iceberg, not just for the Walt Disney Company, but for every single major Hollywood studio.
Well, Diane, this is now the end of an 11-year relationship she's had with Disney, and that's 8 movies she's made. Now, those movies have made billions and billions of dollars. Now, we talk about these back-end deals, why this is so important. You might remember that Robert Downey Jr. made a lot of news because he reportedly made $75 million just off of one Avengers movie. How does that happen? A back-end deal. You take a little money up front, but then negotiate a percentage of the profit. The profits for some of those Avengers movies, $2 billion, 2.5+ billion, and that's where the big paychecks come. And she's arguing if Black Widow had been exclusively in theaters, it could have made more money, meaning she would have made more money. Diane.
All right, TJ Holmes, thanks for that. And for more on this, let's bring in SiriusXM radio host and ABC News contributor Mike Muse. Mike, thanks for being here as always. Let's talk this through, because Scarlett's attorney is saying that releasing this film on Disney Plus is essentially saving them from having to pay her what they would have with a box office release. Disney says there's no merit whatsoever to this filing. So what happens now?
I think now it's in the battle of the court hands now. I think what's interesting is that what we've learned is that Scarlett Johansson's attorneys has an email from Disney saying that, you know, Scarlett Johansson's team was asking for assurance that it will be a theatrical release. And the executives from Disney in an email said that if any changes was to happen, they would make sure that they come to an understanding, recognizing what the contract is at stake. So I think it all comes down to documentations. I don't really see this being a very complicated case. I think the documentations is pretty much going to speak for itself.
What does this mean for other films already released on streaming services? Could this case have a bit of a domino effect?
Absolutely. This case is going to set precedent for so many things. Streaming platforms now are, let me say this in 2 parts. Studios are now looking at consumer behavior patterns changing. Consumers just don't want to only go see movies in theaters. There's a large part of America who still does, but there's another large part of movie watchers who are enjoying watching it from home. And these streaming platforms has allowed for that comfortability to exist. And so studios are now having to adapt to to how then do we release theatrical, but then also to cater to those who have no interest in coming back to theaters. It's a twofold. It definitely has an impact on the actors in the sense of they do get a lot of back end, and a lot of their ancillary deals are based on that. Because what happens, Diane, when you go to streaming, when you do two-part in theater and in streaming, it's about the second weekend box office. You usually see a extreme decline in box office tickets when you see dual release at the same time. And so actors now are going to have to think differently about their contracts and agreements. I'm curious, Diane, going forward, how does this impact independent filmmakers? A lot of times they'll get these big actors to accept so much less on the back end with a larger percentage, a smaller increase on the front end with a larger percentage on the back end to increase them and incentivize them to actually getting in some of these smaller budgets, independent movies. And so I'm actually curious how it's going to affect that market.
And any chance in terms of future film releases, Mike, do you think now that they've started this kind of release, do you see them going back to the traditional box office only model?
I don't think so, Diane. Again, the pandemic has changed so much consumer behavior patterns. People are looking to shopping online exclusively. People are more open and interested in ordering from apps that deliver your food services. And so I think now people are more open to watching movies at home. And what Disney Plus has proved with this box office, with their premium access sales is that there was a demand and a large demand for at-home viewing experiences. And so you can't, from a business decision, just turn your back on that consumer. But it comes to a point is I think deals are going to look so much different going forward. And I think Scarlett Johansson's case is going to set precedent that would change the economic revenue of Hollywood, both from studios, streaming platforms, and also too from the actors.
All right, SiriusXM radio host and ABC News contributor Mike Muse. Always great to have you, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.